Hey everybody, good night. It is Tuesday night, a little after 6 p.m. and guess what that means? It means it's time for dinner with Debbie. And tonight I am making a really good, really tasty Mediterranean dish, and it is actually vegetarian. Might even be vegan. I didn't really look into it that much in regards to all the ingredients, but I'm pretty sure it's gluten-free too. So as always, this will be, the full recipe will be in the comments when the video gets loaded tomorrow, and you can look for it on my, hey Allison, how are you? I know it's hot up here. I can't imagine how hot it is in Florida. This will be on my YouTube channel tomorrow. Just search at Debbie Meighan Real Estate, and I have a whole playlist for Dinner with Debbie recipes. And this one is one of my favorites. I can't wait to share it with you. It is really quick and easy. We should be done in less than a half an hour. I did a little bit of prep beforehand, but really kind of minimal. So I have a non-stick skillet, and I actually have a second skillet at the ready. The second one is a cast iron because I'm going to be making grilled eggplant with Mediterranean stew. And I know stew makes it sound like it's going to take a long time to make, but it really doesn't, because it comes together really quickly. So I'm going to get our stew parts going now, so it has a little bit of time to simmer and get the flavors together. And then I'm going to grill the eggplants in a cast iron skillet. And I use the cast iron skillet because I think it gets a little bit more of a crust onto your, whatever it is you're grilling, whether it's a steak or a burger or vegetables. I like that. I think it browns things better. So that's why I like the cast iron. So like I said, I've got my non-stick skillet. I've got some extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to put about a tablespoon in here, which is like once around the pan. And I'm going to heat this up. Get the burner on. I'm not going to get very far if I don't have the burner on. And one thing I've noticed with these ceramic coated non-stick skillets from Williams-Sonoma, and probably any kind of ceramic coated for non-stick, is that they really heat up fast. So, you got to watch them a little bit, because if you're used to a different kind of pan, it maybe take a little bit longer. I also notice that I don't need as much, whatever oil or butter I'm using, I don't need as much of it. So I'm going to give this a little swirl around the pan. So our ingredients here that we're going to be starting off with are, I've got a half of a medium onion that I've chopped up. I've got it calls for 1 cup of chopped tomato, but I just took like a medium-sized tomato and chopped it. It's probably more than a cup. One thing that I did do to prepare in advance, and you can not do this if you don't want to, you can buy prepared, but it calls for a cup of beans that have been cooked. And so I used, I had split peas in the house, so they were dried, so I needed to cook them. So I cooked them this morning. I just boiled them for like, I strained them, and then I boiled them for about 10-15 minutes until they were soft, and then I just put them in the fridge. So those are ready. So if you haven't done that beforehand, that would add to your time. Or you could buy canned, like if you don't want to use split peas, or you wanted to use like a white northern bean. You could use any kind of bean you want, but you can use one that's canned, and those are already. And of course, if I'm making dinner, I'm having wine while I'm cooking. And I am actually drinking this very delightful, wait, I better get back to it because I think this is hot. So, all right. Yeah, we're hot here. We're cooking with gas. So I've got the olive oil in. What I'm going to do is add my onions. Let me grab a spoon. There, got this turned so you can see it a little bit. So I've got my onions. I'm going to let them go for just a minute till they start to soften. Sorry, I still have stuff around my kitchen sink, but you see, that's my new faucet. Don't you love it? I love that faucet. It's like my favorite part of the kitchen. kitchen update that I did. So we're gonna let this go for a couple of seconds, and then I have some tomato paste. I really like to use the tomato paste in the tube because I hardly ever need to use a whole like 4-ounce can of it. So we're going to put in a tablespoon of this, and I'm just going to eyeball it. That looks like about a tablespoon. Top doesn't want to go back on. I'm going to put my glasses on. So we've got the tomato paste, and we have some herbs to go in here. I have some, and if you have fresh, have at it. I'm going to take about a tablespoon of, this is dried rosemary. And what I like to do, and I think a tablespoon is like a palmful. And what I like to do with the dried stuff is I like to crush it a little bit first to kind of wake it up. And remember, if you do use fresh herbs, not dried, you don't need to use, you use a little bit more. The dried herbs are a little bit more concentrated and you use less of them. So we've got rosemary. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of dried oregano. Again, I don't have time in my life to like measure stuff. This is not baking where everything needs to be exact. So oregano. I'm going to put some black pepper in here. Again, if you want to grind your own pepper and put it in there, have at it. More power to you. And then I need to add a little bit of paprika. There. And those are our herbs. I'm going to give this a little spin. Now, I've got the tomato paste in here, so I kind of want to incorporate that. And I'm going to turn my heat down because this pan really does work really quickly to get, it heats up and really, actually it was a great pan. Really happy with these. So, and when you saute herbs like this, it really gets them. Hey, Mom, how are you? Glad you're watching tonight. I'm sure you already ate dinner. So, sauteing these herbs, I think, really kind of wakes up the flavors of the herbs in the oil. I'm just going to get a little spoon. Scrape this off the back of my spoon here. Okay, so now I have my tomatoes. I'm going to add those in. I'm going to make sure I don't skip a step this time. So, yep, tomatoes. I'm going to just stir this up a little bit, and then I'm going to put the split peas that I had cooked earlier. And it says a cup, but I probably have a little bit more than a cup here, because after I cooked them, they got bigger. And you can see this looks really good. It smells really good too. Man, I'm just incorporating all of this together. So now that I've got this going, there. Yep. Now we're going to boil this for a few minutes until this sauce thickens. So what's going to happen is that the tomatoes are going to break down a little bit. They're going to release their juices. And this is going to turn into a little bit more of a saucy type of thing. And it's just really good looking. I like using the split peas because they're green and they're a nice contrast against the red tomatoes. But if you had like white northern beans or a pinto bean, I think any bean would be nice. A lentil, nice red lentil would be nice. So we're going to let this cook a little bit. And while that cooks, I can tell you, I can go back to the wine. So this is a really nice wine. I actually recently joined a wine club for a local restaurant. And it's called Asso Cellars, AHSO, and it's in Brambleton. They just opened up Asso Cellars, which is like a wine bar, and they do a monthly wine club. And when I went in to pick up my selections, of course, you know, I always like to try whatever the wine people there are pouring. I kind of like to give it a try because they know the wines really well. And so, of course, that's what I did. And I fell in love with this Chenin Blanc that they had at this place. And it's called, let me show you. I cannot pronounce this, Remhuki. I am not pronouncing that correctly. But I will have the information about this wine when this goes onto my YouTube. But this is a Honey Bunch Chenin Blanc, and it's from the Stellenbosch area of South Africa. And if you don't think of wine when you think of South Africa, I don't blame you. I didn't either, but I have discovered South African wines, and they are some of the most beautiful wines that are being made. And the Stellenbosch area, which I believe is roughly translates to beautiful land, is absolutely a breathtaking area of South Africa, and it's a premier wine growing region in South Africa. And believe it or not, fun fact, the Chenin Blanc grape is the most widely grown white grape in South Africa. So this is kind of like their national white wine. They're also really known for Pinotage, which is a red blend made with the red grapes that they like. But that's probably more information than you wanted to know. But I can tell you what I like about the Chenin Blanc is that it's light, but it's not super acidic. It's got a nice mouthfeel. It's not as full-bodied as like a Chardonnay or a Viognier, but it's a really nice light wine that's not too acidic. And it drinks great with just about everything that you want to eat. So, yeah, cheers. That's really good. Yummy. So, getting back to this, I think the sauce has begun to thicken here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on a back burner on a low heat. And I'm going to move over to my cast iron big boy here so I can do the eggplants. I've got a little bit more olive oil, again, about a tablespoon. I know some people are afraid to use cast iron skillets. I know the one thing that I don't like about them is that they're pretty darn heavy. So you don't want to drop one on your foot. That's for sure. But I love them because you take care of them and they last forever, and they're just kind of naturally non-stick if you take care of them. And most cast iron skillets now come seasoned already, so that they already, you don't have to go through a big process of like putting them in the oven with the oil on them and all of that. They're already come to you seasoned. So to take care of a cast iron skillet, you just, when you're done cooking, you wash it out with just soap and water. Do not put it in the dishwasher. You want to dry it off right away. Otherwise it could rust. And then you just take like a thin, a little dollop of like vegetable oil and a paper towel and just smooth it around the whole inside of it. And then that's it. It's done. And if you do that every time you use it, it gets more and more nonstick the more you use it. So I've got this going, and what I had prepared, I did prepare this beforehand as well, just because it was easier. But when I went to the farmer's market on Sunday, because I like going to the farmer's market on Sunday morning, they had these beautiful eggplants, which is really why I picked this recipe this week. So I had some really nice eggplants, and what I did beforehand is I cut off the tops, and then I cut them in half, and then cut each half into like 3 pieces. So each eggplant, these are like 2 kind of medium-sized eggplants, and I got 12 pieces of eggplant. So what we're going to do, and what the reason I cut them up early is that I put salt all over them and let them sit, because that brings out some of that kind of sponginess flavor, like, you know, that kind of the thing that most people don't, if you think you don't like eggplant, it's probably because it's kind of like that texture. And if you put them in salt and let them sit for about 5 minutes beforehand, you don't have that issue. So this is feeling pretty good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is start putting these bad boys in here. Yeah, I can hear it sizzle. Ouch, I just got some splatter. That hurts a little bit. And I'm hoping I can get all of them in here. I think I can. Yeah, I think I can. I can get all 12 pieces in here, because that's the reason I picked out the big skillet. So another way that you could do this, I'm sauteing these in a pan, but you could grill these. And let me get I want to get these instead. So I think the way to really get a nice crust on your vegetables or whatever is just like put them down and then let them sit and let them cook. I'm going to make sure the heat is on kind of high. There. So when we put this together, actually all we need to do now is that this is going to get grilled. I'm going to flip these over to the other side so that the other side gets browned. And then the whole thing, I think I've talked about this before, is the kind of cheater ways I use to do rice, because I just really don't like making rice. I'm not good at making rice. So I either use the frozen rice and heat that up, but I've discovered this new thing. Let me show you. You can get these at Wegmans, and I'm not sure if you can get them at other places, but I'm sure you can get them online if you order from like Amazon, what have you. But this is in the rice section, and it is like a little container. This is already made rice. Now this happens to be basmati rice. They also have jasmine rice. Unfortunately, they don't have brown rice. But this is already steam filtered and perfectly fluffy, perfect rice. I just like poked holes in it. I put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. What I'm going to do is peel back the plastic on this and fluff it up with a fork. And I might stick it back in the microwave for a minute, or maybe not even, because it does feel pretty warm. And you get perfect rice every time. And I don't have to deal with making rice, which I kind of like. All right, I'm going to check these eggplants. Yeah, I'm just flipping them over to the other raw side. Yeah, these look really good. When I'm done flipping them, I'll bring the camera over so you can see them a little bit better. So the other thing you have to be careful of when you're using a cast iron skillet is that you can't just like grab the handle, right? Because I'm going to burn the crap out of my hand. So I got this. I'm going to turn them this way so that you can see a little bit better. See how like nice and brown those get? That's because of the cast iron skillet. So cool. Time for a sip. Hey, Stephanie. So while that's going, I'm going to finish fluffing up my rice and deciding if I need to put it back in the microwave again for another 30 seconds or so. I think I might, but this really is going to come together really quickly because all this is going to be is I'm going to get a plate, I'm going to put some rice on it, I'm going to put the stew on top of that, and then I'm going to put 2 or 3 pieces of the eggplant. And there you go, it's done. I think I'm going to put this back in the microwave for just 30 seconds to make sure it's nice and warm. I'm making a little bit of a mess here, so you can see there. Put the plastic over top. And there you have it. So most of the kids are back at school now. You know, I like to have things that are, even though I don't have kids in school anymore, I know people like to have things that are quick and easy to make. And it's still darn hot out. It's actually hotter now than it was for most of the month. So I'm flipping, most of these are brown on both sides now, so I'm flipping them onto their backs, which is the skin side. And what I am seeing is that the pan has gotten a little dry because our eggplant has soaked up a good bit of the oil. So I'm going to do something. I'm just going to throw a little dollop of in here. Not too much because I don't want to burn the pan. And then I'm just going to work that around. So these were already salted before they went in here, but I am going to hit these with some pepper. And you know what would be kind of nice on here too is maybe some Parmesan cheese, although they didn't say to do that in the recipe. So I'm going to let that cook for just a second longer, and I'll start putting together a plate. All right, so I've got my rice. There. Hey Debbie, how are you? It was nice seeing you last weekend. Okay, so I've got my rice. I'm going to put a little bit on my plate. And this container of rice will serve 2, maybe 3 people, depending on how much rice you eat. I don't eat a tremendous amount of rice, but I like to have a little bit. Yeah, let me show you these. Wait till you see these eggplants on here. All right, so now I'm going to take a little bit of my stew. So you can see that. And I'm going to top this with 2 pieces of the grilled eggplant. So see? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So it's a great vegetarian meal. You've got your protein from your legume. You've got plenty of vegetables. You've got your starch. If you want to serve it with a salad, have at it. But for me, I think I'll just eat it as is and enjoy this glass of wine. So I really hope you guys give this recipe a shot. It's one of my favorites, and I hope it'll be one of yours too.